Hello everyone, Kaoz here, and welcome to another old school RuneScape video. Today, my revamped 1 to 99 cooking guide. As the name implies, cooking will help you out processing raw food in order to use as healing items on your many adventures. This isn't limited to raw fish, which is one of the staple items to train this with, but other important items as well. Cooking is a lot like fletching in the sense that, as long as you have all the appropriate items to train with, you can pretty much AFK this skill from 1 to 99. Although, as we are doing with all the guides, I will show you other cool ways to level up along the way. If you find this video useful, you could subscribe with notifications on, and consider becoming a channel member for instant access to our Discord in order to receive general guidance on your way to 99 cooking, or other things in old school RuneScape. So, let's begin. Now, these are all the quests that provide cooking experience as of the time of making this video. Remember that some of them have a cooking level requirement themselves, and you may not be able to do them right away. As I mentioned before, cooking is a pretty simple skill, and just like fletching, you need 0 questing to get 99 quickly. However, here are some useful achievements to keep in mind in order to make it slightly better, and I'm going to explain how they help. After completion of the family crest, you will be awarded with an item called the Steeled Gauntlets. Take these to Caleb and Catherine to turn them into cooking gauntlets, which will decrease the rate at which you burn lobster, swordfish, monkfish, shark, and anglerfish. Not a quest, but if you have 100% Hosidius favor, you have access to the Hosidius kitchen. This has an extra 5% success rate of cooking food, further increased to 10% by completing the Elite Current Diary. This is a great place to cook your food. The next quest I recommend is Dragon Slayer 2. Now, listen, it sounds a bit steep, but with it you will gain access to the Myths Guild, which is the only spot in the game with a bank and a range in the same tile. And if you're thinking about the rogues then, well, no, that's a fire. By doing the Varrock Hard Diary, you can use the bank inside the Cooking Guild, for which you only need a humble level 32 to enter, as long as you are wearing a chef's hat. It's also a great place to train if none of the previous are available to you. Finally, the quested Taibo One-Eye Trio is needed to cook Karambwans, which is the absolute fastest way to train this skill, and one of the best training methods in the entire game. But more about that later. If the last segment was too long, well, this one is going to be pretty short. The only item that will help us with cooking has already been mentioned, and it's of course a pair of cooking gauntlets. Always have them on you when cooking to burn less food. It is worth mentioning that the passive effect of the cooking cape will make it so you will never burn food when wearing it, but hey, if you have 99 cooking, you don't even need this guide, and it's actually something to look forward to. Also, just like fletching, there's no plugin specifically for cooking, and the only one that comes to mind is the Idle Notifier, which will let you know when your character has been inactive after a certain period of time. It is great if you are doing something else on the side, and it can even send you desktop notification with audio to remind you to keep cooking. We are going to start with one of the most iconic quests in old school RuneScape, the Cook's Assistant. With a pot of flour, a bucket of milk, and an egg, talk to the chef for your first 300 experience, which will take you from levels 1 all the way to 4. This is the only quest we will be doing for experience, after which you can use a cooking range in the castle. Now, before we start, what places do I recommend to train cooking? First off, the Lumbridge kitchen has a range, and you can go to the top floor to bank and then resupply. Catherby is also pretty nice since the bank and the building with the cooking range are next to each other. And even if you happen to be free to play, which God forbid, Alcarid also offers a range close to a bank. Finally, you can get yourself a Games Necklace, teleport to Burthorpe, and then go below the pub to access the Rogue's Den. In here, there is a tile where you can access both a bank and a fire. All of these are great alternatives if you haven't unlocked the Hosidius Kitchen, the Cooking Guild, and the Myths Guild like we mentioned before. From here on out, we only have a few viable methods, all of which I will mention in order of unlocks. If you thought the fletching guide was pretty straightforward, well, cooking is going to have even less variety. Okay, Scapers, let's begin. From levels 3 to 5, you are going to cook sardines. These are the only item that provide 40 experience that you can cook at level 1. Other alternatives include meat, chicken, shrimps, or even anchovies. Whatever you choose, you will need to successfully cook a whopping 3 items for level 5. At this level, you can cook herring. Unlike the previous options, this is the only item you can cook for now, but it's not going to be long until our next milestone. You are going to successfully cook 41 herring in order to get to level 15. This is where it starts speeding up a little bit in the early levels. You can start cooking trout, and you only need to successfully cook 78 of them in order to reach level 25 for our next item. You could potentially cook other commonly traded fish like cod from levels 18 to 20, and then pike from 20 to 25. But for simplicity's sake, let's just stick to trout. Our next important milestone comes in at level 25. You are now able to cook salmon, which provides 90 experience per cook, as opposed to 70 we were getting with trout. Here is where it gets interesting though. Depending on what you want to do next, we will have two paths. I will first talk about Jugs of Wine, available at level 35, and then we will go back to cooking fish for the rest of our journey to 99. So, for the first one, you will need to successfully cook 162 salmon to get from levels 25 to 35. We will now talk about Jugs of Wine for a little bit, since they are one of, if not the most popular method to get to level 99 cooking due to the speed and the cost. I will first explain how this works, and then tell you important numbers. In order to make a jug of wine, you will need both grapes and jugs of water. Because of this, take 14 of each in your inventory, and use one or the other to combine them. After a few seconds, the wine will ferment, and you will be left with either a jug of wine, or if you are unlucky, a jug of bad wine. The latter will not provide cooking experience, but successfully fermented jugs of wine will give you 200 cooking experience each. The fun part about this is that if you do it relatively fast, you can actually stack fermenting jugs of wine in your bank for up to 6 hours when the logout timer hits you, and then you can wait for a big drop of experience after whatever amount of time. At level 68, you will have a 100% success rate, meaning that you will need 2,914 successful wines to go from levels 35 to 68. After which, you only need 62,147 wines to reach level 99. With prices as of the time of making this video, fermenting that amount of wines means that you will need around 3.5 mil, making this one of the cheapest 99s to achieve. Okay, so that's about it for wines. If you want to actually profit from this skill, we are going to follow a pretty simple path. Instead of starting wines at level 35, you are going to cook salmon from 25 all the way to 40. You are then going to cook the iconic raw lobster from 40 to 65, raw monkfish from 65 to 83, raw sharks from 83 to 87, and finally raw anglerfish from 87 all the way up to 99. Some of you may have noticed that these are not the exact levels required to start cooking monkfish, sharks, and even anglerfish. That's because I would suggest 3 or so levels more than the minimum needed in order to burn less food, which in turn means more profit, and most importantly more experience per hour on your road to 99. Before we move on to the alternative methods and then the roadmap, I will talk about one of the fastest training methods in the entire game. You are able to cook raw Karambwans at a rate of 1 per tick if you position your camera correctly. I personally do it at the mid-skilled, so I can reach disgusting experience per hour. So go to the cooking spot of your choice and grab a full inventory of raw Karambwans. If you are using Runelite, hold the Alt button and you're able to move your inventory around the screen like this you're seeing right now. You can make it so the bottom right Karambwans is near the range to be ready for the next step. Hold down number 2 on your keyboard and use a raw Karambwan on a range or a fire once per tick. It's actually pretty easy to get into the rhythm. Oddly enough, you can only do this with Karambwan, so don't get too excited thinking you can try to do it with other types of food. When you are done, simply resupply to get more, and get ready to absolutely destroy your wrist by doing this. It is very much worth it because at almost perfect efficiency, and by just burning a few of them on your way to 99, you are looking at roughly 850 to 900,000 experience per hour. So if you want the fast 99, this is one of the ones to go for. Okay, Scapers, time for the alternative methods. The very first one is one you might see in the wiki, and technically speaking you can cook raw Karambwans into poison Karambwans at level 1. You can do this until level 35 to start with wines, until 40 to start cooking lobster, or any other type of fish if you want to cook on your way to 99. The next alternative method is actually multiple pieces of food. And if you're feeling spicy, you could try non-traditional cooking methods for your early levels. There are tons of raw food you can cook at many different levels, most of which are not that common to cook or even eat. But you can try them out. A great hybrid training method, although a fairly expensive one, is baking pies with a lunar spellbook conveniently named Bake Pie. You may bake different types of pies at specific levels, all of which will give you both cooking and the magic experience. Not really worth it since it's more expensive than training with wines, but a nice one nevertheless. When you do barbarian fishing, you may use a knife on the fish you get out of the water. By doing so, you will obtain some items like caviar, and you will also get a little bit of cooking experience for doing so. Just like before, not really my cup of tea since it's just much better to do it with wines or by cooking fish, but if you want to gain extra experience, this one is pretty decent. Last and definitely not least, we have the mess hall. This is mostly for Ultimate Ironman since banking is a glaring issue. I'll be honest and tell you I've only done this for leagues, so I will link a great guide for you in the description below. For unrestricted accounts and even for Ironman, this is not going to be that great. And now, Scapers, what do I personally recommend to go from levels 1 to 99 cooking in 2023? We have 3 paths which consist of profit, moderate speed by spending a bit of GP, and speedrunning the skill at the cost of your wrists. The very first one is just by fully AFKing it and cooking raw fish. You can follow pretty much the same way I talked about food a few minutes ago. Cooking sardine, herring, trout, salmon, lobster, monkfish, shark, and finally anglerfish. Even by taking burnt food into account, you will walk away with a decent bit of GP after your 99. The second one is almost the same as before, but you are going to stop at level 35 to start fermenting Jugs of Wine, all the way up to level 99. Remember, you are going to lose around 4 mil GP, but a pretty cheap skill cape if you ask me. Just cooking sardines, herring, trout, and then salmon until you reach this important milestone. If you want one of the fastest 99s in the game, you are going to cook raw Karambwans into poison Karambwans from levels 1 all the way to 30, do the quest to Taibo One-Eye Trio, and then cook normal Karambwans from 30 all the way to 99. Like I said before, keep in mind that this is potentially going to destroy your wrists, so you tell me if this is worth it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it for the cooking guide. Thank you so much for coming and for making it this far. If you did, make sure to tell me how you would get level 99 cooking, or if you already have it. A massive thank you to all my channel members. You boys and girls are absolutely amazing, and your support goes a long way to feed my starving family. If you want to be a part of this list of absolute legends, click the join button below to subscribe monetarily and receive a ton of benefits in the videos, in the live streams, and of course in the Discord. Stay tuned for the next video, and of course for the next 1 to 99 guide, where I will show you how to achieve mastery in the magic skill. Have an amazing day, have an amazing week, and I will see you then. Peace.